Welcome back at 9:23. Even though temperatures have dropped down into the mid-90s, which seems odd saying even though, it's important to be careful outside in that heat. Dr. Reena Mehta with Uptown Allergy and Asthma joins us now with tips on dealing with high temperatures and how it can impact your body. Good morning.
Good morning.
I mean, it sounds odd saying like, even though it's dropped into the mid-90s, I mean, it's still very hot. So these are very important tips, not just, for when we see that extreme heat potentially again, but even right now, right?
Yes. Today, especially when everybody is off, it's a holiday. Many people are barbecuing, they're outside swimming in the pools. The #1 cause of death from a natural disaster is actually extreme heat, even more than hurricanes and tornadoes combined.
I know it's kind of hard to, you sort of forget sometimes in some of those situations, especially, over the barbecue pit, you're going to have more heat coming off of that paired with the heat from the sun. But even when you're swimming in the pool or maybe, wherever you might be swimming, you're not completely protected from the effects of the heat.
Absolutely. I mean, being in a pool does cool you off, but still, I mean, the heat, the sun is directly on you. And so what we worry about is things like dehydration, heat stroke, heat exhaustion, and these are all different conditions in varying levels of severity, with heat stroke being the most concerning.
Okay, so when you talk about heat stroke, heat exhaustion, what sort of signs should we certainly be looking for? And you want to make sure you look for it in your kids too, because they might not even know that this is happening.
Absolutely. So that's a great question. So the kind of people that I would worry about having heat stroke more than someone else is your children, because they just don't know how to regulate that body temperature. You worry about your elderly. Certain medications can increase your risk of heat stroke, things like beta blockers, antidepressants. Also, drinking alcohol can make you more dehydrated. So if you're drinking and you're in the heat, you need to be really, really careful that you don't get too dehydrated.
Make sure you have some water too. That's a big thing. Drinking that water is very important, especially you were telling me after a certain temperature and humidity, sweating is no longer effective.
Exactly. So when the humidity goes above 75%, your ability to sweat, so we think of sweating as a mechanism to protect and regulate our body temperature. Well, if you can't effectively sweat anymore, you can't regulate your body temperature. So your body temperature can go from 98.6 to 106 in a matter of 15 minutes. If you're at 106 body temperature, of course you're going to get heat exhaustion. You're going to do things like feel confused, flushed. You're going to have headaches. You're going to feel like you can't talk anymore. Sometimes you feel like you're going to pass out. And so if you see somebody who just seems disoriented, flushed, not feeling well, it's really important that you bring them into a cool place, cool them with rags, have them drink a lot of water, try to bring down their body temperature, and if you're concerned, definitely want to call 911 and seek medical attention.
If it gets to be that point, obviously you're making the call, maybe even before it. Is there any sort of tempering that needs to be done with someone that is seeing that extreme, potential heat stroke, or can you just put ice on them right away and just everything you can to cool them?
Everything you can to cool them. Ice rags, ice, try to go into the air conditioning, anything you can do to try to bring that body temperature down, because if it goes too high, they could even have a seizure. Okay. And so it could be a big cause of death. And so that's the reason why we're so concerned, is if you start feeling bad. So what I was telling you earlier is if you're feeling thirsty, you're behind the game. If you feel thirsty, that means you're already dehydrated. So you should really be drinking a cup of water every 15 to 20 minutes while you are outside, especially if you're doing things like exercising in the heat.
Yep. All right. So if you're out there maybe trying to get that morning jog in, make sure you're drinking some extra water at the end of it. And if you're having some drinks with friends today to celebrate, have some water in between. Absolutely. Not only because it's safe, but can keep you hydrated and cool.
And that's the best way to have fun.
Yeah, it is. You sure are right. Thank you so much for joining us. Happy 4th of July.
Happy 4th of July.